Welcome, KCIW listeners at 100.7 FM or online, kciw.org, Brookings, Oregon. Let's say hi to our syndicated listeners at KZZH 96.7 FM, Access, Humboldt, Eureka, California. And a welcome to our listeners at KSKQ 89.5 FM, Ashland, and 94.1 FM, Medford, Oregon. Yep, this is Joyously Free Radio with me, Joanie Lindenmeyer, the best-selling author of None Better, an amazing love story, and co-author of Joyously Free and Healing Religious Hurts. But more importantly, I am so glad that you are tuning in today to this. I'm a resident of Harbor, Oregon, a retired high school teacher, a recent author who's published 3 books in 2 years, created an audiobook, and with friend and film producer Michael Gorse, created a short film called Wowzer. And man, is it a wowzer. But most of all, like I just said, I love life. I love being here with you, the producer and host of this high-energy, joyously free radio show, so named by my friends Will and Viv. So this show talks about LGBTQ plus stories and tips, along with religion, church, faith, spirituality, and joy. Yes, the joy and freedom that come from within, deep within yourself. It is also the name of my second book, Joyously Free. But in this radio broadcast, just as in every day in my life, there is no hate speech, no hate behaviors, and no bullying. This will be blasted with the 3 C's: courage, confidence, and collaboration. Together, let's sparkle and seek understanding, to think out of a box or no box at all, to be open-minded as an open parachute. So let's begin with our daily salutation. I'll say, it's a brand new day, and your response is, it's never been lived before. Let's see how we do. It's a brand new day.
And it's never been lived before.
Oh my gollies, oh my God. Tim is ready to go today. And I wish everybody were here right now in our studio. He is smiling big. His eyes are sparkling. We are going to have a fun day. Well, I gave you a little bit about him, but hang on just a little bit. Let's open our hearts and do our prayer this morning. Let's ask the divine to shine light on our community and our world. I excitedly believe in hope, in the power of the spiritual, and that Jesus, God, Spirit, whatever name you put on a higher being, is always with me and always with you. So be not afraid or troubled, saddened or depressed. Joy and peace are an internal expression of love and harmony that is already within each of us. We only have to reach deep within it and let it out. So let's center ourselves. Calmly, take a deep breath in with the good and out with doubt. Again, breathe in through your nose with hope and out from your mouth with fears. Last one, take a big deep breath in with joy and out with worry or despair. In the name of Mother Earth, Creator God, Jesus, Redeemer, and the blowing winds of the Holy Spirit, we say hi. Hi, love. Hi, light. Hi, Jesus. Hi, God. Hi, Spirit. Thank you for being with us on this beautiful day. Well, today's reading I picked up from my daily reading in my prayer corner this morning, and it's a quote from the Bible. It's from Matthew 7 through 12. And it says, Jesus said to his disciples, "Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened to you." Yes, Jesus says that to each of us. Ask and it will be given. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open. When I read that this morning, all I could think of and see was a human being, a young man, saying these profound words to me, saying, hey, just seek, just knock, talk to me. Let me help you. Let me be there for you. And in that, I just felt so much peace and quiet. It was just beautiful. And so I'm just going to say, Holy God, thank you for giving me that reading today. Thank you for letting Jesus be in my life. And whoever can give you guidance or help or healing, I hope that they are with you today. Let us end our loving prayer by lifting up our friends and our family. May we find that guidance and that healing all day long. Thank you, Holy One, for being with us. Amen.
Amen.
So Let's have a happy day, listeners. You are in for a treat. And I am in for a treat. I want to introduce you to a new friend in the last year or so, year and a half. His name is Tim Rundel. You might know that name around town here, but he's a Brookings resident. He's the city manager for Brookings. He's been involved in theater and filmmaking as a producer. And I saw him on stage just a few weeks ago, probably at Chetco Playhouse. And oh my gosh, his facial expressions, his accents, he is really a theater guy. But today, he's not here as a theater acting person. He's here with his heart and soul. And our topic is, as so named by Tim, navigating today's life without social judgments. Ooh, something we can all learn a little bit about. So let's open our minds and our hearts. And Tim, thank you for being here.
All right. Well, thank you, Joanie, for having me as a guest.
Yes. So we have quite the topic here, Tim.
Yes,
but before we jump into that, would you just give the listeners a little brief introduction? Who are you?
Yeah, that's a great question. Who am I? I am as you said earlier, the city manager, but that's a job I do. That's not who I am. I'm Tim Rundel. I'm somebody who has had I would say an amazing spiritual journey through my life. Yeah, okay. And I was going to share a little bit about that.
Good.
And yeah, so if you don't mind, or what is the format?
We're going to go for 30 minutes, and it's your show, Tim.
Okay. Well, just a real quick background on my spiritual journey.
Okay.
I did not find Christ until I was 21 years old, and I was dating my college sweetheart at the time, and she told me that if I wasn't a Christian, she would not marry me. Oh. So I had a lot of pressure there, and I really wanted to marry this gal. Mm-hmm. So there was a singer back in the 80s. His name was Carmen. I don't know if you remember. He had his concert.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, real big. So I went to this arena. Carmen was performing, and then at the end they had a call, and I went down, and I'll never forget, I talked to this guy. I still remember his name to this day. His name was John Fortune, and John had me read a little prayer, and I accepted Christ, and that began what I would say my Christian spiritual journey right there.
Wow.
And it was quite a journey. I started out as a Methodist. My ex-wife, my kid's mother. We have 2 children, 2 boys. We like I said, we started as Methodists, and there were some things going on with the Methodist Church, which I'm getting ready to talk about, that I'm not really proud of.
Okay. Because
the Methodists, as we know, they lean a little bit to the left. And at the time, I had decided that I was this very conservative Christian. And I remember one time going and complaining to the pastor there because he had a guest speaker once, and she wore this rainbow stole.
Oh, boy.
And she talked about, the plight of her gay friends and everything else. And I was like, oh, my goodness, why is this in the church? And I was very upset about it, and I complained to him.
Okay.
So we left there and went to a non-denominational church. A much more judgmental church, as I will tell you.
All righty.
We were there, and I loved the people, but I wasn't real happy with the format of the church, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I felt an incredible amount of judgment coming from the congregation there, and it all came to a head one day where, like a lot of churches, you sign the rolls. And the pastor got up and he said something to the effect, we've had some people that have wandered from the flock. Let's talk about them. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on? And then he started naming names and, brother, John Smith, I'm just making up a name. Brother John Smith, he and his wife are separated right now. She has told us that he cheated on her and she kicked him out. And we've been trying to reach him. He won't talk to us. So we're going to, who votes to kick John out of the church?
Oh,
I'll say
gosh.
I. Oh, yeah. And we did about 5 or 6 of these. And I left. And I had my children with me right there, too. And I was like, do I really want to belong to an organization like that? So when my ex-wife and I parted after 17 years of marriage. And I will tell you a lot of the reasons why we separated and were divorced was because I started kind of leaning just a little bit to the left, and she was far right. She's still way, way, way far right. And I, like I said, we and I did go by the church and make sure I got my name off the rolls before they, talked about me, which I didn't care about. But I just wanted, it was just not a good feeling. Then I started going to what I would consider a mega church.
Okay.
And I started dating this gal, and we ended up getting married, but we belonged to this church in Oklahoma City called Life Church.
Mm-hmm.
And Life Church is it's like going to a rock concert every Sunday. And I enjoyed that to a degree. Then I started volunteering for some stuff, but they started kind of sharing with me the insight of how we get people. And it was all just based about 100% on emotion, about getting them to a certain point, and then just, getting the hook, and then, and bringing them to Christ, which is fine. Every church does it a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
And long story short, we ended up, I took a job in Auburn, California.
Okay.
I was a city manager there, and we started going to another church over in Granite Bay. And Joanie, I was sitting there one Sunday, and every Sunday we left that church, we left with about 10 envelopes where, they had all these different missions and things, which is great, but a lot of it seemed to be focused around money. And I mean, we had a guy who was our praise and worship leader, who was a top 10 Christian singer throughout the country and had hit albums. And it was like, again, going to an arena.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like right before Christmas. And the pastor was talking about the Christmas Eve services, which I love Christmas Eve services. I don't know why, but they always, I feel that closeness. And he said, so go online and buy your tickets right now, pick your seat and buy your tickets. And I'm like, buy my tickets? I have to buy a ticket to come worship God?
For a Christmas Eve service?
Christmas Eve service? Oh. And I said, and I looked at my wife, my second wife, and I just said, I'm not going back there. And she got upset. And I just said, I said, and I went to visit a couple other churches. And then I just felt this, I don't know, something was going on in my heart. And by then I had found out my son, my youngest son, came out when he was in high school. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you, that changed my heart completely.
Came out meaning?
Came out meaning he said he told his mother and I he was gay.
Okay. And
at first, it was kind of a little bit of a jolt to my system, because I was thinking, well, I wasn't prepared for this, because he had dated, girls in junior high and high school, and then all of a sudden he came out and he told us he was gay. Mm-hmm. And it changed my heart a bunch, because I realized I had been judging people based on who they love and not who they are.
Oh.
And
repeat that, Tim. That is so powerful.
I was judging people based on who they loved and not who they really are. Yeah. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people still have that. And I think we have that in our country right now. It's starting to do a reverse, because, I felt like back, 10, 15 years ago, we started putting all that negativity and hostility toward the LGBTQ community, aside. But I think it's coming back, and it really bothers me a lot. And like I said, I'm a person that's had what I kind of say, an unorthodox spiritual journey. I've had an unorthodox life because I have like you had mentioned before, I have an arts background.
Right. I
do theater. I do documentary films. I've had films shown at South by Southwest and some other big film festivals and stuff. So I love it too. I love being part of that, being part of that journey. But I just have kind of put up a little bit of a wall right now with religious organizations.
Right.
And my spirituality is based in my heart.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And I am fortunate enough to live just a block or two from the beach. And I go down there and talk to God all the time. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's something that I feel like, throughout my life, I think we all kind of go through that, where we, especially if you've kind of bounced from church to church. Mm-hmm. I mean, Methodist to extreme right-wing, You
were church shopping, trying to find an answer.
I was church shopping. And
it sounds like the answer you've come up with is...
Yeah, it's your relationship with God. It's not your, not who you're having, worshiping with. Don't get me wrong. I find that very soothing to have those brothers and sisters in Christ or whatever. And that's the other thing that's kind of through my journey. One of my very best friends is Muslim. And he and I grew up in the same little small town in Oklahoma. His first name, I won't give his first name is Nazir. And he has a beautiful wife, Nasim, and they have two beautiful kids. And but he and I grew up in this small town. We worked at a pizza parlor, and still to this day, that was 40 years ago. We Instagram each other a couple times a week, and I just love this man. I love the fact that he loves me as a brother in Christ, and I love him as somebody who worships.
Dear friend.
Very dear friend. And then I started thinking about all these other things that come out. And I'm going to open up a little bit about my current journey.
Okay.
Right now, my girlfriend, and I asked her before I came, I said, do you mind me sharing a little bit about your journey? My girlfriend is pagan.
Okay.
And I know a lot of people have issues with that. I don't. And guess what? She has zero issues with me being a Christian either. And so our household is a very diverse household. And so but I will tell you, when I got divorced back in 2023, I was married for 15 years to my second wife.
Okay.
And long story, but I won't go into it, but we decided to part ways. And it wasn't real messy. When I had my first divorce, it was very messy because of custody. I wanted 50-50 custody. She wanted primary custody. I spent $40,000 trying to just get 50-50 custody, and unsuccessfully. But we parted ways in
amicably.
And there was a little bit of tension there because I have two children that are both part of the LGBTQ community. And
they both are.
Both are.
Oh my golly! So you have a gay son. Okay.
And a trans son.
Okay.
Who?
No wonder you don't want judgment, because you can feel their pain. And
absolutely.
You can feel what they've gone through, and maybe that's been a part of your life as well.
It is, and my oldest started his life as Grace Elizabeth. Sounds like a good Catholic name. But it wasn't. I wanted Mary Elizabeth, and my ex-wife said, no way, that sounds way too Catholic. And so anyway, but guess it was about 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, sent me a really long letter about, been thinking about it, was in the late 20s, early 30s, and just decided to do that. And I supported him 100% on this.
Right.
And he's done the whole thing. And what's funny is we jokingly talk about our testosterone levels. And I'm upset because he can grow a beard nicer than mine. so anyway, but I say those things because, I love both my kids for who they are. And it does trouble me. My youngest was in college when they had the shooting at the Orlando club.
Yes.
It killed 50-some people. And it was heart-wrenching. And at the time this happened when I was in Auburn. And at the time I had some friends that I worked with that I knew that were part of the LGBTQ community that, weren't big public about it, but I knew. And I ran into one of them in the parking lot, and she and I were talking about that shooting. And I just said, what bothers me right now is the fact that my youngest son is going to college, and he's a DJ at a gay nightclub in Oklahoma City.
Wow.
And he has an African-American boyfriend. Yeah. And I was thinking, people want to kill my kid because of who he loves. And that's crazy to me. And, and there's people out there want to kill, people like my oldest son because of who they are. And it really, really struck a nerve with me. And you're talking to somebody, you're looking at somebody 20, 25 years ago, leaned heavily to the right. And then, but I think God was just at that time just peeling away at my heart. He goes, no, we're going to get there. We're going to get you there. And he did. So I love people
with your beloved.
with my beloved.
And when it's personal, it's even more personal. It's not just you're just not hearing somebody else's story.
Absolutely.
It's personal.
It is very personal. So, and I've had situations, and you know, I'm sharing this publicly for the first time about both my children, but I feel like I have nothing to hide. I don't have anything to hide. I love both my sons. I would die for my sons, and they are, you know, two of the most precious people in my life. And
you've been on their journey as well as your own journey.
Heck yeah. And you know what's interesting is two quick stories. When I was in college, I was in theater, and you know the stigma with being in theater is he's probably gay and stuff. And I had people that wanted to physically harm me because they assumed I was gay because I was in the theater, and with a lot of. But what they didn't realize, I'm straight. And it was great for me because we had several gay guys, and I got to date a lot of beautiful girls in the theater department because. But anyway, but you know, I joke about that, but and that's something too that I look back now in my life, in my journey, and I'm still friends with most of those people that I was in theater with there, and we've talked to each other a few times about some of my gay friends and stuff, about some of the things that they've been through. And it breaks my heart. It really does, because there is so much just judgment in this country going on right now, and it really bothers me. And when I see people get up and say things, and you know, with these stigmas and these, basically, I would call it, you know, I know,
prejudice, discrimination,
hate speech, yeah, and just, you know, and dehumanizing these people, and I'm like, well, what? You know what though? What's funny to me is, eventually it's going to happen to them, where they're going to have a loved one that's going to come out or something, and it's amazing how much their heart changes. Well, they either changes or unfortunately some of these people will just, you know, disown. I've had friends.
Yes.
Real quickly, I had a good friend of mine in high school, and he shared with me he was gay, and in fact, he thought I might be gay too. And I said, no, sorry. And anyway, we worked together at this little retail store, and Kevin came in one day with like this busted lip and black eye, and I said, oh my God, Kevin, what happened? He goes, my dad beat the crap out of me last night. I said, why would your dad? He goes, I came out to him and my mom, and his response was violence. And I said, man, I am so sorry. That's horrible.
Right.
You know, unfortunately, this was in the early 80s.
And it still happens today, too.
And it still happens today.
You know, and you first started out by talking spirituality, and a lot of this is rooted in that spirituality.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we always have to be aware of that.
Absolutely.
What church are we associated with? What's our faith?
Absolutely.
You were talking, I know we
we're
need to get in. Well, and your current girlfriend, pagan.
Yeah.
I want to. Tell me about how this is all happening.
It's beautiful, because I've learned about paganism, the things that I had my own stigmas on people that were pagan, and she's had stereotypes of Christians.
Yes.
And she's learned, like, well, you're not like all the other Christians, not like some of the other Christians that I know. And I said, well, I've never, you know, dated a pagan before, but and I know people will get upset when I say this, but a lot of our spiritual journeys are very similar. She calls it the universe. I call it God.
Right.
And we both accept that. We both love that.
And celebrate that.
Celebrate,
and that's the joy.
Yep. In my home, real quickly, before she and I started dating, when I just got divorced, and I just felt the need to do something, you know, kind of spruce up my house a little bit. And I put up this picture. And it says, this home is filled with ooey gooey love. And it's got a picture of a chocolate chip and little kids eating chocolate chip cookies. And before she even came into my life, and we still have that hanging in our kitchen. So that's what it's about, Joanie. It's about love.
It is about love.
And I wish people...
Ooey gooey love.
Ooey gooey love, man. Ooey gooey love's the best.
Right.
And she is a beautiful soul. And we have really hit it off. And I'm so glad God put me with her because I feel
And there's a bigger reason why.
absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
To make that ooey gooey love spread more.
Spread more.
And that's what you're doing right now on this
Yeah.
radio show.
Well, thank you.
By you coming out and saying the things that you have today are gonna hit people's hearts
Well, I hope
or
so.
not.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. The
Yeah.
more we share our authenticity.
Absolutely. And I'm tired of hiding a lot of this as well because, you don't want to upset, folks by talking about this stuff, but it's there. And these are human beings just like us. And we just, like I said, get past the part of being upset with who they love
Exactly.
and accept them for who they are,
Exactly.
and your world will change immensely.
There you go. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. Listeners, this has been phenomenal with Tim. I thank you from the top of my heart, the bottom of my heart, my whole ooey gooey heart for you, Tim, for being here today and for voicing your opinions and your thoughts and your heart. I just love that.
Thank you, Joanie. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I want to thank all the listeners, Northern California, Southern Oregon, Rogue Valley. We hope that Tim has inspired you, brought you to some ideas that you can think about and talk about with your own family. We want to thank the team here at KCIW, Mike Gorse on sound, Tom and Candace that make this happen, and Rose. We want to thank you, the listeners. You're the most important part of this because when you listen to something, you can take it and let that ripple just grow, that ooey gooey love. I just love that. Let that ooey gooey love grow. So we want to also thank Nate Dogg at KSKQ and Jeff over at KZZH. So with that, we're going to say, smile big, wear bright colors.
That's right.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Joanie.